Paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers scum. They're on giant death factories keeping babies alive. Selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy weird sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot belly goblins are hobbling round coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap. We don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
good evening, people. It's good to see you guys. I hope everybody is doing well and had a wonderful holiday. I know I did. It was really pleasant. Yeah, it's a good year this year. I feel really good this year. Um, and yeah, man. Uh, so I'll announce it later once there's a few more people in here again. But just for those of you who are here, take note that Tuesday is New Year's Eve, and you guys know that I've been talking about doing a fundraiser stream for Karen and Turtle Boy, and that's what we are going to be focused on Tuesday, and it's going to be a 12-hour stream, as I've been talking about. Clever, don't start, dude. Come on, man. Don't start messing with that bag. It's gonna make all kinds of noises and distract me. But yeah, 12-hour stream Tuesday, from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. And yeah, and I haven't reached out to any special guests yet. I'll get around to that. Maybe we won't even get any, but I'll be streaming for 12 hours, and I will be trying to I'll be going over just whatever. I mean, random body cam videos to testimony to all kinds of stuff. I'm going to try to keep the testimony to a minimum so I can stay awake, because come like 10 or 11 p.m., I'm going to start drinking. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to be really tired, and I'm going to start drinking. So yeah, it should be fun. And I plan on, like I'm going to get myself a nice bottle of scotch, because I don't drink at home almost ever anymore. But it is Christmas Eve, and I haven't drank since. Thank you, buddy, for turning off the Christmas lights. And then laying down. That's really, really nice. And yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, so I'm gonna treat myself nice, and I'm gonna get a nice little bottle of scotch for Christmas Eve, something at least 12 years old, and hang out with you guys, because it is a special occasion. It is the ending of a crazy year and the beginning of a new one. So I am really, really looking forward to that. Mazza, and I'm going to be reaching out to you, buddy. Thanks for the Young Jerks raid. I appreciate that. Everybody who's here from Young Jerks, I appreciate that. That's very nice. Yeah, Maz, I'll be reaching out to you, buddy, for that. Hopefully you can hang out with me, and we'll have some fun conversation. It's been a minute. And yeah, don't drink and drive. Hopefully I can entertain you guys enough to keep your asses planted at home, so that you don't catch a DUI or worse, hurt somebody or worse, yourselves, or anything worse happening than, God forbid, physical harm. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm all hyped up for that. I'm all psyched up for it. Now hold on. Let me see if I can fix this. What in that? There we go. Okay. So yeah, man. Now today, you guys know, listen, I'm not even going to try to front with you guys. Everybody's doing these year catch-up videos and blah blah blah, because there's fucking nothing new to talk about. That's just the truth. I'm gonna level with you guys. I'm gonna keep it real for you guys. That's why everyone's doing that, is because, and I'm doing it too, just because, you know, we want to keep hanging out with you guys. At least I can only speak for myself. I just want to hang out with you guys, and there's nothing really to talk about except I figured I would take this time to celebrate some new creators. All right, the Christmas tree is going to be off. At least it's after Christmas. I don't give a shit. So the I'm gonna take some time, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open phone lines later. But before I do that, we're gonna celebrate some new creators. We are gonna go over another Dream Feed Media video because she's the new hot tamale in the community, and we want to celebrate these new creators who are taking the time out of their very busy lives. And Grace, in particularly, being a mom of a small child, and taking the time to recreate using toys to recreate the scenes, and that's the kind of stuff that we should not take for granted. People taking their time and doing stuff like that just for the mere sake of educating people further in this case. Because the fact is, Karen Reed is absolutely innocent. We all know that Karen Reed is innocent. And it's always nice when somebody comes along to spell it out. So I'm always grateful to those folks. Microdots posted her channel on Twitter, and they are fans of each other, which is really nice to see. I like to see that, and I like to see just new creators grow. But there's another guy. Who's brought to my attention, and this dude is a lawyer. Now, I've never watched his channel. You guys know I like to do reactions. I've never watched this gentleman's channel, but he is an attorney. And what is his name? Brother Counsel. Now, I'm going to go over his video. He seems like a good guy. Normally, I don't share this until I feel, am I trolling or am I celebrating here? But I think this is a guy to celebrate. So I'm going to share his video. Please stop whatever you're doing right now. Click on the link I just dropped. Like the video that I just dropped the link to, and subscribe to Mr. Brother Counsel. Okay? Because we are about to watch my man. He has this video here where he is saying, well, this is what my closing arguments would have been in the Karen Reed trial, the one that just passed, the sham that is being retried by a mob goon. Fantastic. So we're gonna go over this. Hey, Diane G, listen. Dude, I subbed up trying to peel potatoes here. Take the snark out of your voice when you address me in the chat, please. Thank you. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. But I think that I distinctly remember myself saying, stop whatever you're doing, and like Brother Counsel's video here and subscribe to him. Okay, I specifically said stop whatever it is that you're doing. That includes potato peeling, to the best of my knowledge. Jeez. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad.
How dare you?
Buttercup, thank you so much. Boston Boston gals love the glare. Wishing you the best of 2025. I love you guys too. Thank you so much. That is so sweet. You guys are amazing. All right, so let's check out Brother Counsel here. This gentleman is going to share with us his closing arguments for the Karen Reed trial, the Karen Reed sham, as it were.
Happy holidays once again, and thank you again for taking some of the time away from your holiday
I already like this guy.
festivities to spend with me as we continue to talk about the Karen Reed case.
I could just feel his demeanor, bro. I could feel this guy's energy. It's nice. It's a pleasant energy. I love it. This dude is already booming with positivity.
So there's something that I just naturally do when I'm watching these trials. I can't help it. Just being a trial lawyer, this is what I automatically do, is I put myself in the position of the prosecutor and the defense attorney that I am watching and think about whether I'd be doing anything differently than
I love that. That's what we want from law tubers. That's exactly what we want.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad.
How dare
Stacy Pace Travels, thank you so much. Another attorney that sees the truth. Love him. I like him so far too. Guy hadn't even said shit, and I like him already. But I think he's I like what he just said. He says he likes to look at, as a trial lawyer, as an experienced trial lawyer, he likes to look at and watch these other lawyers handling these high profile cases in trial and then ask himself what he would do differently. This is what we want from any law tuber. This is the kind of insight that we want. Make sure to subscribe to Brother Counsel, people.
they're doing. Not that it would be any better, but just the way that I think. So there was an idea that I had about how some of the closing arguments would go if I was representing Karen Reed. And I think it's an interesting idea. Not that Callan Jackson didn't do a good job. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. He doesn't need any of my help. But this is just an idea that I had. And it was an idea that I really got, that I'm going to borrow from a prosecutor who used this idea in the Michelle Troconis trial. So if you are familiar with what happened in the Michelle Troconis trial, then I don't have to explain much. But just to give you a quick recap of what happened in Michelle Troconis trial, is that Michelle Troconis had this boyfriend, Fotis Dulis. Fotis Dulis was previously married to Jennifer Dulis, and Jennifer Dulis was murdered by Fotis Dulis. That was pretty clear. And then Fotis Dulis took his own life. And now they were charging Michelle Troconis as part of the conspiracy to commit this murder. Okay, so she was, the allegations are here is that she was part of this conspiracy. So right away, when you're thinking conspiracy, you may start to make some parallels to the Karen Reed case, especially to the people that are very bent on the position that there was a conspiracy here. Now, as you know my position already, I am not thoroughly convinced that there was a conspiracy. I don't know who was involved with the conspiracy, if there was a conspiracy. So it's not something that I spent too much time on trying to prove to you that there was a conspiracy. That's not what I felt was so important in this case. What to me was important in this case was whether the Commonwealth met their burden and proved this case beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's really where my analysis essentially ended. Now, there are some questions about maybe there was some sort of cover-up, some sort of conspiracy, who exactly was involved, and all those questions, which I think are decent questions and maybe could be researched, but I didn't really spend too much time in trying to prove that, because to me, it doesn't really matter so much whether you can prove that there's a conspiracy. Then what matters is whether the Commonwealth proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. So,
now, that's true, but I have to say, now, far be it from me to dispute something that an experienced trial attorney would say, but having watched the trial, I'm of the opinion that since, now I could be wrong. I'm not a lawyer. He could absolutely correct me and be like, no, it doesn't really matter. But the defense did officially say that they were using a third-party culprit defense. And it seems to me, at least it came off to me like if you're presenting a third party culprit defense, then you do kind of have a certain burden of proof. You have to present that case. It seems like you would have to. Otherwise, then you wouldn't even need to state the fact that you're presenting a third party culprit defense. What would be the point? So to me, it just seems like, okay, well, yeah, of course, generally that's how it works. The prosecution, it's on them. And there's no way that they could have, that we know for a fact that the prosecution absolutely failed to present a case against Karen Reed and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she hit John O'Keefe with her vehicle and killed him. It just didn't happen. So, I mean, there's doubt from that whole concept, just from the ARCA guys. The ARCA guys right there just completely and totally destroy the idea that she even hit him accidentally. And this is very important. And it's very, very telling to me that they were not allowed to state that the FBI hired them while investigating the district attorney who is prosecuting this case. I mean, so to me, that's just very, very telling. But that's a whole nother conversation. But everything in this case, it has doubt. Like every piece of proof that the Commonwealth claims to have, there is holes and holes of doubt all over it. So it makes no sense to me that that there's even a question whether or not the Commonwealth proved their case or has any proof that's reliable against Karen Reed. And that's just a minimum. I mean, the third party culprit defense, everything that they presented there created that much more doubt. I mean, and that's valid too. Again, I far be it from me to disagree with an attorney here, but I feel like that stuff was important to focus on. I definitely feel it's very important to focus on the McAlbert aspect of all of this, the residents and the party attendees at 34 Fairview in the early morning hours of January 22nd, 2022, after the Waterfall Bar and Grill. To me, that is important. That the details just in that aspect of the case present all kinds of doubt. And then there's the how, what I was talking about earlier with how the investigation was conducted. I mean, this is ridiculous. It should have never went to trial in the first place. Just based on the things that I'm saying now, it should have never went to trial in the first place. No prosecutor that actually cares about their career. I mean, that's the kind of shit you see on Law and Order, dude. I mean, how many times have you seen ADA Carisi or ADA Barba, on SVU go, hey, I can't, the defense is going to argue this and the defense is going to argue that. I need more. And then they send, Stabler and Benson out to go get more evidence. It happens all the time. Like on TV, it happens. You know what I mean? So like it's crazy to think that any prosecutor would take this case. I remember pre-trial, I was going, I don't understand why this is going to trial. Like I'm looking at all of these documents in this spreadsheet that was put together by Sleuthy Goosey, and I'm shocked. I'm like, I don't understand how this is even going to trial. This doesn't make sense. Why would a prosecutor think that they can convince a jury up against attorneys like Yannetti and Jackson? Makes no sense.
So we've explained that my position already in previous videos. But nevertheless, still, I think it's worthwhile to point out to the jury that there's some pieces of evidence here that just doesn't add up. And something that I saw from the Michelle Troconis trial is that you have the prosecutor trying to show that Michelle Troconis was involved in this conspiracy, and it was largely circumstantial evidence, extremely circumstantial evidence that what her involvement was at all. So I want to show you a clip from the closing argument, which I think was so effective, which maybe even led the jury to come to their guilty verdict against Michelle Troconis, because a lot of her actions you were able to answer for. And
Again, if you haven't already, make sure to click on the link that I just dropped and subscribe to Brother Counsel and give his video here a like.
And it's just when you put the totality of all the actions together, that's when things start to like not make sense so much, that all of these things have answers to them. And this is what the prosecutor did in his case. So I'm going to just pull up the closing argument. We're going to watch the closing argument together a little bit, and then we're going to borrow that idea to use that in the Karen Reed case. I'm going to put together a little presentation for you for that. I'm spending my holiday time wisely. I put a little PowerPoint together because that's how I argue my closing arguments. I always put together a PowerPoint, and I walk the jury through my PowerPoint. And what I do is, just so you should know, is that when a trial starts, I really have an outline of what my closing argument is going to look like. Basically, it's a rough outline. I know which points I'm going to have to argue one way or the other. So I have that basic outline, and I do have some sort of PowerPoint already put together. But then as the trial continues to progress and I see how the witnesses testify, and I think there are certain things that I really want to stress in the closing argument, so that of course I'm going to add to the closing argument, add to the closing arguments, add to the PowerPoint, add some more slides or things like that. And then literally it's the night before the closing arguments. That's usually when I put the finishing touches on it. And sometimes even during trial, if we're about to go to closing arguments.
This dude is very meticulous in his methods. Like this guy loves the law. You can tell. Like you can tell this guy loves what he does. You can tell that, you know, if he's watching a trial and he's going, all right, hold on. And like the night before, he puts together his own closing argument before he even hears the defense's actual closing argument. So he's writing his own mock closing argument before the defense gives their closing argument. It's fascinating. I love that shit.
And the judge will give us a little bit of a break. I'll still be touching it up at that point as well. So I'm going to be giving you a small snippet, a little picture about what I would be doing with my slides, just as it relates to this specific issue about proving whether there's a conspiracy or not. So let's just watch this closing argument for a little bit, and then you'll see how we're going to do this as well in the Karen Reed case.
Hey, people in the chat, I have news for you. Okay, I don't know if you know this or not, but this is a tidbit of law knowledge. Okay, this is something that I feel comfortable relaying to you. A little bit of law knowledge. Okay, a lot of attorneys are Jewish. Imagine that. Yes, he's Jewish. We've established it. Thank you guys in the chat for making sure that everyone knows that this gentleman is Jewish.
Now, because the evidence in this case has proven the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I want to just pose these questions to you as you head into your deliberations. Is it really just a bunch of coincidences? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant answered Dulas's phone at 4 Jefferson Crossing when he was murdering his wife in New Canaan? Is it just a coincidence that Dulas's phone is being moved and manipulated when only the defendant?
Now, I'm not familiar with this case that he's referring to here, but
in his home. Is it just a coincidence that the defendant brought?
Oh, what he's doing here, he's showing an example of a technique that he would use in the Karen Reed trial, which is pretty interesting.
Supplies to 80 Mountain Spring Road, where you know the cleanup of this coma was going on. Is it just a coincidence that the call from Greece is not in the defendant's timeline? Is it just a coincidence that during the cleanup, only hours after Jennifer was murdered, the defendant is shuttling back and forth between Fort Jefferson and 80 Mountain Spring Road? Is it just a coincidence during these trips back and forth, the defendant starts a fire at Fort Jefferson Crossing? Is it just a coincidence that during these trips back and forth, the defendant starts a second fire at Fort Jefferson Crossing?
What?
Is it just a coincidence that the defendant eventually lights a third fire at
What?
Fort Jefferson Crossing? Is it
Oh
just
my
a
God.
coincidence that while Doulos is cleaning the Tacoma, she takes a brown stained paper towel from him and throws it in the trash? Is it just a coincidence that despite no one telling her to, she took the keys to the Tacoma? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant travels with Doulos to Hartford?
Okay. I gotta say, like, I am not familiar with this case that he's reviewing right now at all. Like, not even a little bit. Never heard of it until he mentioned it on this video. And this is the first time I'm watching this video. So, like, already I'm listening to this and I'm going, this is all shady as fuck. Like, all shady as fuck. Like, whoever this is really, really like, he just keeps going. Is it just a coincidence? Is it just a coincidence? They set the third fire. What? 3 fires? You set 3 fires? Everything is shady.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat. Super cat. Super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat.
How dare you?
Jackie Ed, thank you so much. You are my favorite creator. Having Clubber and Drago help. Haha, joking. You speak your mind. Love it. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. I love that.
As he disposes of the evidence on the same day? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant brought black garbage bags to 80 Mountain and Jennifer's shirt and bra were found inside black trash bags?
Wow.
Is it just a coincidence that the defendant brought a green and yellow sponge to 80 Mountain Spring Road and 2 of those were found in the trash in Hartford? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant brought a broom and the police found a mop or a broom handle in the trash at Albany Avenue in Hartford?
Dude.
Is it just a coincidence that the defendant opened the door to the Raptor at the exact moment that Doulos exits the vehicle to dump those license plates in the sewer and block that other vehicle's view? Is it just a coincidence that despite her daughter not being home, the defendant panicked when the police came to the house, went to 3 separate rooms and said, "I don't want to be here"? By the way, if the police come to someone's door while their child is not home, would you expect a reasonable person to immediately go to the door to make sure the child is okay? Unless, of course, that person just knowingly committed a crime.
See, that's nice. Some guy with cancer says, I'm heading out. It's my birthday. I'll try to remember to be here Tuesday. Right on, man. And I'm really glad that you got to see another birthday. And I hope many more. There are many more to come, my friend. You're kicking ass, and we're proud of you. We love you, buddy. We love you. You haven't missed anything, Steve. It's good to see you, buddy. LV Cops in the house. If you guys aren't subscribed to LV Cops TV, make sure to subscribe to LV Cops TV. They are amazing. And yeah, I gotta reach out to you guys too. Yeah, expect a DM from me soon. LV Cops TV.
Is it just a coincidence that the defendant followed photos to the car wash and then tried to lie about it? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant's phone number and not Doulos' number was used at the car wash? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant lied and said she showered with Doulos when he was actually en route to murder his wife? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant lied about seeing Doulos in the office again while he was in New Canaan murdering his wife? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant initially denied seeing Doulos' phone on the morning that Jennifer was murdered? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant said she saw Doulos meeting with Kent Maloney at Fort Jefferson Crossing around the time of Jennifer's murder, the same information that was in Doulos' timeline? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant never mentioned starting a fire to the police until they confronted her in the third and final interview?
Yo, whoever the fuck this is guilty as fuck.
Is it just a coincidence that the defendant failed to mention that the Tacoma was at 80 Mountain Spring Road during her first two interviews? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant never mentioned that Doulos had washed the Tacoma during her first two interviews? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant answered the one call mentioned?
Maybe I'm full of shit and maybe it's my gummy that kicked in, but I feel like this is a really smooth psychological technique to work with the jury, right? Like somebody mentioned the repetition, the points for repetition, somebody said in the chat. Now, I feel like there's a psychological method to that madness, right? The idea is to wear the jury down, get them sick and fucking tired of hearing him say, is it just a coincidence? But still knowing that their job is to be forced to have to hear everything that he's saying and take note of it, right? And so, yes, it provides kind of a checklist kind of feel to it, what he's doing here. But also, it's like, as a juror, you're probably going to react in your mind like, okay, man, fuck, I get it. And once you hit like, yeah, fuck, I get it, that means, yeah, I'm pretty convinced. Chances are that juror is going to feel convinced. Even at a subconscious level, that juror is going to feel convinced that the argument presented by this attorney, this closing argument, is valid. That if this is a prosecution's closing argument and pointing all of these things out and kind of making you feel stupid for believing in coincidence and thinking, yeah, just coincidence, and making the idea of it being coincidence very dismissive, you know, just presenting it that way. Is it really just a coincidence if they do that? If she said she went back a second time to start another fire, it was really just a coincidence she went back a third time to start another fire? Is it really just a coincidence that she brought trash bags to the crime scene? Is it really just a coincidence that she had fucking green and yellow sponges to the crime scene and then put gloves and sponges in the crime in the black bag that she brought to the crime scene? Like, and he just goes on and on and on. So if I'm a juror, I'm going, fuck, okay, dude. You know what I mean? It's slick. It's slick as hell, because once they get back into that jury room, they're wore down. Once they're back deliberating, they're like, dude, who's trying to go home, bro? Like, who's trying to go home? Right? It's smooth as fuck.
In Doulos' timeline on that morning as having been answered by him on the morning of his wife's murder? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant failed to tell police that Phyllis Doulos' bicycle was at 80 Mountain Spring Road until the third and final interview?
All right, Scott, have a good
Is
dinner.
it just a coincidence that the defendant lied about not going back to 80 Mountain Spring Road to return those keys? Is it just a coincidence that Doulos told the Bell Committee to keep the defendant, quote, out of this when the committee brought up the defendant taking his keys? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant's DNA was found on the opening of the garbage bag that also contained bloodstains, tape, and Jennifer Doulos' DNA?
Oh my God.
Are all these things just coincidences? Or is the defendant guilty? Now,
That
So,
defendant is guilty.
I
as
thought
fuck.
that was very powerful. When I was watching this trial, I thought that was extremely powerful, the way that he, all these coincidences where you can try to start explaining away each one of the coincidences, but like, come on, all the coincidences together, that means that there was a conspiracy. And that's how they were able to eventually get, their guilty verdict against Michelle Troconis, by showing, look, there's so many coincidences that you have to start explaining away that it makes a lot more sense that this was actually a conspiracy. So using that same type of approach, using that same logic when it comes to the Karen Reed case, we can also plug in some of these coincidences. And now I went through a number of them. I'm going to put them up. I'm sure there's more, and I know we have.
I love this because he's pointing out like this is the foundation he's building here. Because if he's going to argue in the Karen Reed closing arguments, he's going to just really focus on all of these things that simply can't be coincidence. And it's shit that we've all been saying this whole time, right? For the past year and couple of months, we've all been sitting around going, there's no way that all of this shit is coincidence. I've been saying I don't subscribe to coincidence. So what this foundation that he's building here for the point of his video here is that he feels that during the closing arguments, Alan Jackson should have just banged out on those on all those so-called coincidences that the prosecution would have you believe is all coincidence. From Jen McCabe's 2:27 a.m. search to fucking the tail light, the inverted videos. I mean, everything. So it makes perfect sense to just hammer that shit out. But again, Bev only gave 1 hour for closing arguments. But Dials too, right? Exactly. I mean, it's insane. There's clearly like a track of a cover-up. Like there's documentation that tracks of a cover-up. And so this gentleman believes that if you focused on that in the closing arguments, that probably would have hit harder with the jury. That's what he seems to be building up to. And I can't say I disagree with him. Again, I agree with him. We all agree Alan Jackson is a badass, but the thing is, you're given an hour, and you also got to understand, as badass as Alan Jackson is, as badass as David Yannetti is, as badass as Eliza Little is, this was some shit that this was uncharted waters for all of these lawyers. Every single person on Karen Reed's defense team was in uncharted waters, man. They've never fucking experienced any shit like that ever in their careers. That's something to take into consideration. That is a very, very important fact. Because think about it. You have to think on your feet when you've got a judge throwing you the most insane fucking curveballs ever. So there's always going to be a moment, no matter how badass of an attorney you are, when that shit happens, any attorney is going to sit there for a second and go, holy shit, did that just happen? Did she just fucking say that shit out loud in a courtroom, in a court of law? We took the same oath. She took another one to become a judge. What is happening right now? There's no way that as dope as attorneys as Karen Reed's defense team are, individually as well as collectively, as dope as they are, there's no way that they're not going to be somewhat shell-shocked at what they're hearing from Judge Beth and what happened from pre-trial through the trial. Simply defending a case that in any other county, anywhere in the country, would have never went to trial in the first place. So these people had to think on their feet constantly. I saw it with my own fucking eyes. I saw them. I was afraid to even, I said one thing to David Yannetti. I was like, it's a pleasure to watch you work. That's all I said, because from the time that we walked out of the courtroom, walked over to the church to have lunch, they were talking about strategy. Sat down. I did not sit with them. I sat with Paul Cristoforo, a couple other people. They were talking strategy the entire time. And then on the way back from lunch, I asked Alan Jackson, I was like, I don't understand. He was like, yeah, I'm worried that they're going to try to lie, because Buchanan was on the stand, right? And he was like, yeah, Buchanan lied about one thing. I can't remember exactly what it was. And he was like, now I see that they're willing to lie. And so I'm afraid that they're going to try to pull some shit and say that this was documented when it wasn't, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't understand. Why are they so brazen with their methods here? It's like it's so shady and it's in everyone's face. And he's like, power. That's the only thing I can think of. He was just as dumbfounded, but he was like, power. That's the only thing I can think of. That they're so used to just fucking people over as much as they want and not facing any consequences. And I was like, Jesus. Glover, get out of there. Go lay down. Yeah, it's none of them had ever dealt with anything like this before. Because they're used to the law being the law. They're used to judges that are acting in the interest of justice. They're used to prosecutors that are even acting in the interest of justice. Alan Jackson was a prosecutor.
A very astute audience here, and they may catch some things that I didn't catch, but this was just kind of my quick review from some of the evidence, which are all coincidences, which would either be explained away, each one individually, or altogether seems like there's something more going on here. Now, I'm not going to say very clearly, I'm not going to say that this proves to me or that proves to you that there is an absolutely conspiracy here. I'm not saying that. And I've never said that. And I'm not wholly convinced that there was a conspiracy just yet. I haven't seen enough evidence of it. There are.
See, now, some might say, he's being a fence rider. He's not. I mean, you got to understand, this guy, there's going to be a lot of people that come along that talk about many cases, you know, like, and this guy wants to be careful in how he words things. And I get it. A lot of the true crime creators or law tubers who talk about multiple cases are going to be like, hey, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm saying there's a lot of coincidences. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I would expect that from a law tuber. So I'm not going to like get upset at the guy, you know, for not taking a side, you know. I just like to hear good insight, and this guy is definitely providing it.
But these things definitely bring out some questions. It brings out doubt about whether the jury is getting the full story.
Right.
So if I'd be presenting this as a closing argument, I wouldn't necessarily be arguing that you see clearly 100% that there's a conspiracy here. What I would be showing with all these coincidences that can either be explained, or it shows that you, the jury, do not have the full story here. And if you don't have the full story, that's going to create reasonable doubt. Okay, so we're going to pull that up, but actually the first slide is a little bit of a different argument that I would also make to the jury. And I think it's a very strong argument. And I always love to put the other lawyer on the spot. If I'm able to do this, if I have a real gotcha moment, I love to, in my closing argument, say, I hope the other attorney can get up here and explain to you the following, because what we saw in trial brings out this issue, and I don't know why the other attorney is ignoring it. I hope he gets up here now, or she gets up here now, and can explain to you what it is and why they decided not to talk about it or something like that. Okay, so that's just what I'm going to touch on first, and then we're going to get into how I would present the coincidences. Okay, so let's just pull this up. So this is my slide right here. This is my little PowerPoint. So, ladies and gentlemen, the prosecutor has a job. Now, some of you may think that the prosecutor's job is to convict people. Well, actually, that's not what the Massachusetts courts say. And this is a direct quote from case law in Massachusetts.
I already love this shit. It's like, this is real easy. Now, again, you have to understand, give Alan Jackson some slack here, man, because Alan Jackson only had an hour and you have an insane amount. It was a 9-week trial. And it shouldn't have even gone to trial in the first place. 9 weeks of the prosecution. I mean, it was like 7 weeks of the prosecution presenting nothing. Fucking nothing. Established that there was a blizzard. That is the most solid thing that they established in the whole fucking trial, was that there was a blizzard that night. So but this guy here, he's building a foundation. He wants to make sure he wants to focus on the reasonable doubt. So he wants to make sure that the jury knows right away, immediately, that what the prosecution's job is not to just get a conviction, but to present a case and convince you, the jury, beyond a reasonable doubt that Karen Reed is absolutely guilty of the charges that the prosecution is accusing her of, that the Commonwealth is accusing my client of.
Prosecutor's role is to assist the jury in discovering the truth, not merely to secure a conviction. So if you are a prosecutor, your job is to assist the jury in discovering the truth, which would mean presenting all of the evidence to the jury, not trying to hide evidence, not trying to not hire people that are necessary for the jury to understand from their expertise how to interpret certain facts and certain evidence. Your job as a prosecutor is to provide the truth, to provide the tools in which the jury can see the truth, not to secure convictions. That's very important. And therefore, I have a question for the prosecutor in this case, the Karen Reed case. Okay. And hopefully, this is what I would say. Hopefully, Mr. Lally can get up here, or the other attorney, Mr. Lally can get up here and explain to you why he didn't do this for you. Because if he's trying to secure a conviction, I understand it. I understand why he wouldn't be doing something. But if he's honest to his role and
see, the vibe I'm getting off this guy right here, based on what he's saying he would be presenting the jury with in closing arguments, the vibe I'm getting from him is that I'm not convinced that he believes that Karen Reed was framed, but I'm convinced that he believes that there's something going on here and this is absolutely a sham. And he's passionate about that fact. That's the vibe I'm getting from this gentleman, is that he is absolutely and totally convinced that this is a fucking sham. Now, it doesn't mean that he's convinced that she's innocent. It doesn't mean that he's convinced that that there was a conspiracy to frame her. It means that he knows that this should have never went to trial. He knows that this is, but we're here, right? So since we're here, I'm proving why the prosecution absolutely failed to prove their case against Karen Reed. That's what he's focused on, and he's passionate about this. I picture this guy watching the trial and going, what the hell did I just watch? I'm picturing this guy sitting there and going, I can't believe that this was the case that the prosecution presented and the judge just let this happen. Now, I don't know if that's what he did, but I'm hearing him already very passionate in the way that he's delivering this mock closing argument. I'm seeing somebody who's very passionate about the fact that the prosecution just galactically failed at presenting their case and proving Karen Reed to be guilty of this crime.
His role is to assist the jury in discovering the truth. Well, then he should have done something. You know what that is, ladies and gentlemen? The prosecutor in this case, the Commonwealth in this case, should have called the two ARCA experts. Why do we have to call them? In
Good
their
point.
case, they should have
Wow.
called them. After all, maybe they don't like.
I fucking love that. If the prosecution, this is an excellent point. If the prosecution were actually acting in the interest of justice, why weren't the ARCA experts who were hired by the FBI called up by the Commonwealth? Why did the defense have to call them up? If the Commonwealth is acting in the interest of justice, then why is it that these experts were not called up by the Commonwealth? This dude is amazing.
Like what they're saying, but if they're just here to help the jury in discovering the truth, don't you think that having these two biomechanical experts who are extremely qualified as accident reconstructionists, don't you think that that would help the jury in discovering the truth? And you heard from both Dr. Wolf and Dr. Rentschler that they made themselves available to both the defense and the prosecution. So I want to know,
Boom.
why didn't the prosecution call these witnesses as part of their case? You're right, it may not look good for you, but if a prosecutor is honest to his role and the Commonwealth is honest to their role is just discovering the truth. So they should put all the evidence in front of you, whether it helps them or not. Now, they can explain to you why they believe that those experts still do not prove anything and don't hurt the reason why you should lock up Karen Reed. That's fine. They can do that. They can argue. That's their opinion. But as their job is to show you everything. So why is it that we had to call these experts? Why is that? Did they really think that these experts are not reliable? They're not credible? And even if they believe that they're not credible, if this is all about discovering the truth, don't you think that they should have called these experts?
All the more reason to call them up. If you don't believe them to be credible, call them up and discredit them. But that 3,100-page document is entered into evidence. Why, if the prosecution is trying to get to the truth and their job is to show the jury the truth and share all of the evidence that they have, why wouldn't they go over that? Why not try to discredit them right off the bat? So this dude is awesome because even in his video, because what he's doing is really, really genius. He's basically saying you can absolutely prove that there's something shady going on, that the prosecution is trying to deceive you, jury, without actually saying that the prosecution is trying to deceive you. He's just showing how they're being deceptive and doing it in a manner in which the jury can go, oh shit, so the prosecution's being deceptive then. Very much like Yannetti. Yannetti was so excited when the trial was over for the day, and the jury had just saw that the Sally Port footage was inverted. He was so excited. And he was excited about the fact that the jury now knew that it's the prosecution trying to deceive them and not the defense. So he's basically saying that should have been hammered in closing arguments. Which is, I mean, he's right, you know? But again, there was only an hour. And there was this third-party culprit defense. So it makes sense to focus your closing arguments around that.
So I think that's also a point that could have been made in the closing argument. Now let's move on. Okay, so let's go on to the coincidences. Is it just a coincidence that no one from law enforcement ever followed up with Brian Lucky Lawford until 2023 after the defense interviewed him? Is it just a coincidence that a piece of glass would stay on the bumper through being towed through a blizzard? How would that glass stay there? Is it just a coincidence that Jennifer McCabe deleted multiple calls that night, the night that John O'Keefe...
I love it. So this guy like referenced that other closing argument. And it's interesting that closing argument was done by a prosecutor. That was the prosecution's closing argument. And he wants to reference that to use as the defense's closing argument in this case. That's very telling. Think about that for a second. That's just one of those naturally interesting things that he feels that a technique used by a prosecutor to prove a defendant guilty in closing arguments, that should have been applied to defending the defendant in closing arguments. I mean, and he's pointing all this shit out. Like, he's just talking about, so far, he's just talking about the evidence. Now, he might not even bring up the McAlberts, but he doesn't have to, which is interesting because he made that point earlier. He's saying, you know, if you just focus on how the prosecution failed to prove their case, well, then that's all you need.
Was murdered. Is it just a coincidence that the Alberts sold their house after the murder? Is it just a coincidence that the Alberts rehomed their dog of 6 years, 4 months, 6 to 7 years, 4 months after the murder? Is it just a coincidence that Brian Albert called Brian Higgins that night at 2:22 a.m., which was, I guess, a butt dial? Is it just a coincidence that Brian Higgins called Brian Albert back that phone?
And then the next one is going to be, is it just a coincidence that Jennifer McCabe allegedly made a 2:27 a.m. search for how long to die in cold?
Phone call lasted 22 seconds. Is that just a coincidence that's when that butt dial happened to happen? Is it just a coincidence that Brian Albert's first phone call the next morning was to Brian Higgins? Is it just a coincidence that Brian Higgins destroyed his phone and SIM card in a dumpster in a military base? Is it just a coincidence that Brian Albert also got rid of his phone after the murder of John O'Keefe? Is it just a coincidence that 34 Fairview was never searched when a dead body ended up on their lawn from someone who was invited to their house? Is it just a coincidence? Is there really not probable cause to be able to search that house? Is it just a coincidence that Brian Higgins went back to the police station after he left the Alberts that night? Is it just a coincidence that Brian Albert never came out of his house when 6 emergency vehicles with engines running and lights on were outside his bedroom? Think he slept through all that? Is it just a coincidence that Colin Albert was left out of the report of people who were at 34 Fairview that night?
Thank you, Nora.
Is it just a coincidence that John O'Keefe's phone registered steps going up and down stairs minutes before his death? Is it just a coincidence that there is missing surveillance footage from the Sally Port when Karen Reed's Lexus was there? Is it just a coincidence that the Sally Port video was inverted during trial until we pointed out, meaning if you're acting like the defense attorney?
Right.
Is it just a coincidence that it took 3 months to get evidence sent to the lab for testing? Is it just a coincidence that all the people that left 34 Fairview that night didn't see a 6'2" man lying in the front yard, which according to the Commonwealth, he was there. That's when John O'Keefe was there lying in the front yard. And
Right.
all those people who left 34 Fairview didn't see it. Is that just a coincidence? Is it just a coincidence that Jennifer McCabe didn't tell the grand jury that Karen said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? Is it just a coincidence that no broken pieces of taillights were initially found on the scene? They're only discovered magically later.
Magically.
Is it just a coincidence that John O'Keefe's shoe was located on the curb when the experts say the strike the Commonwealth suggested happened would not have caused the shoe to come off? That's what the ARC expert said. Sideswipe would never cause a shoe to come off. Is it just a coincidence that according to the key cycles, the Lexus was in police custody when it recorded doing 24 miles per hour backwards? So that is a number of coincidences, and that's something that you'd have to believe. So that, I think, would be a nice, effective way to tell the jury, look, I don't know if there's a conspiracy or not. You know, we don't have to prove that there's a conspiracy, but I will tell you something.
Right.
All these coincidences mean that we don't know really what happened that night.
Exactly.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of questions that are unanswered, unless you want to just chalk it all up to coincidence. And all these coincidences happen to happen the same time, over the same time span. So I think that was just an interesting idea. Maybe that can be incorporated into the closing arguments. But again, this new trial, who knows what's going to happen in this new trial? You know, this is the new prosecutor, Hank Brennan. He may conduct the entire trial differently. He may bring up different arguments. Who knows? So we have yet to see what's going to happen. But I just thought that this was an interesting idea, an interesting exercise. And I'm sure some people will put in the comments things that I left out, and I'm sure
he's already shitting the bed, Brennan.
People put in the comments why all these coincidences are really not coincidences, and really it doesn't show anything, and really Karen Reed is a guilty of sin, and that's fine. It's okay. It's healthy to have some debate. And like I said before, and I keep reiterating, I am not completely sold that there was a conspiracy, but I think that one of the problems where people keep falling for is that they have to choose one or the other, and therefore they have trouble choosing the conspiracy over Karen Reed actually hit him. And to me, you don't have to choose. I'm not completely sold on conspiracy, but I definitely feel that there was a reasonable doubt that Karen Reed backed her car into what actually.
Right. There's no evidence of a conspiracy that he claims. I think that there is, but it's pretty circumstantial in all fairness, but it tracks. You know, so that's definitely easily enough for me to be convinced that there is a conspiracy. But I get what he's saying. What he's trying to say here is I need hard evidence to convince me that there is a conspiracy. And you know, you don't have to think one way or another. Either she hit him or there was a conspiracy. You just have to look at the idea and the way that the conspiracy ideas track, and you cannot reach any other conclusion, at the very least, not reach the conclusion that creates doubt. So you just have to accept the fact that at the very least creates enough doubt to where it pokes holes in everything. All of these so-called coincidences are likely not coincidences. And even though it's not proof that they're not coincidence, it's enough to make you doubt the case against Karen Reed.
Actually happened? I don't know. I'd love to know, but I don't know. And during a trial, the jury really doesn't have to know either. And that's something that I always say has to be stressed to the jury. If you're the defense attorney, you got to tell the jury, you don't have to pick one or the other. What you have to decide is whether the Commonwealth met their burden. Did they prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt? And we've already explained all the evidence as it relates to that and why I don't believe that the Commonwealth met their burden. Now, what actually happened that night, like I've been saying, I don't know. Right. I don't know if there was a conspiracy. I don't know if there was a conspiracy, who was involved, if there was a cover-up. I'm
100% convinced that there was a conspiracy. I just don't know what actually happened to John O'Keefe that night.
don't know. All I know is that I see all those coincidences, and I have got these ARCA experts. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what happened. So maybe that will become clear in the next trial. And if we have a clear answer to that, so then maybe we'll actually know what really happened that night. So that's going to be it for now. Thank you all for joining us. Happy holidays. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, like, and we will see you next time.
That dude is awesome. Yeah, make sure to like that video, guys, and subscribe to this gentleman. He's great. Now, yeah, let's check out which one did we watch? We watched okay. Oh, we watched the Miracles one. All right. Let's watch the coup de grace. So, Dream Feed Media, y'all. Make sure to like this video that I'm going to play now and subscribe to Dream Feed Media. She's fantastic.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super cat. Super fan. I think we got a super cat. Super fan. Super cat. Super fan. 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 I think we got a super cat.
How dare you?
Beck, thank you so much. Hi, Will. Replay Contier. I have spent way too much time with you in 2024, and I can't wait to do it again in 2025. You should watch Brother C's review of Felpy's podcast, too. Keep being you, the polarizing, lovable cunt you are. Kisses. Thank you so much, Beck. I appreciate that. That was very sweet. Brother C. I don't know if I know who Brother C is. Let me see if I can. Oh, Brother Counsel, the guy that we just yeah, we'll go over another one of his videos next time I go live. Thank you so much, Beck. I appreciate it. What's up, Mizzy? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm terrible with fucking abbreviations, dude. All right, let's check this out.
Previously on Dreamfeed Media. In Did Jen McCabe's Digital Footprint Rat Her Out? We demonstrated that Jen McCabe moved with marked urgency between the hours of 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., far more urgency than when she was searching for and finding the body of John O'Keefe. In How Long Was Jen McCabe in Cold? We demonstrated that Jen McCabe was outside in the cold for a prolonged amount of time in the wee hours of January 29, 2022. We determined that Jen's heart rate could not be detected during or immediately after exposure to the cold. We discovered that Jen did not use or carry her phone between 12:50 a.m. and 1:35 a.m. We observed that during this time, Jen took 662 steps according to her watch. We determined that Jen's Apple Watch can track floors even when it can't track heart rate, and a floor is not recorded while ascending the 4 front steps at 34 Fairview. We concluded that Jen was scurrying around on the main floor of 34 Fairview and outdoors during critical time periods of the night. In Apple to Apple, we demonstrated that descending flights were not logged by Jen's phone nor John's phone
Joseph
that
Kane
night.
gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much, buddy. Yeah, and Somebody else gifted 5 memberships earlier. And I don't know why it's not showing up, but no, yeah, that sucks that I can't see it.
We also determined that Jen was likely being deceptive when she claimed she went upstairs during that frantic 6-minute search at John's house. In the real text messages between Karen and John, we demonstrated that John was a consistent communicator, even when under the influence, stressed out, or frustrated. We observed that John had firm boundaries about the use of his phone.
Wow, Joseph Kane, thank you, buddy. Jeez. Woo. Sweet. Thank you, buddy. Gifting 5, 10 memberships all together.
We observed multiple times when John prioritized.
Wait, what?
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super chat. Super fan. I think we got a super chat. Super fan. Super chat. Super fan. 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 I think we got a super chat.
How dare you?
Holly, thank you so much. This guy reminds me of Plevin, except smart, just the way they speak, similar tone and manner of speak. I get what you're saying. I didn't put that together at all because that guy's like the anti-Plevin. But thank you. I appreciate it.
In-person interactions and clearly communicated to others when he was putting his phone away to spend time with the people in front of him. In What 31 Fairview Saw, we identified 88 critical events that Deputy Chief Neighbor's cameras would have recorded. Here's a hint. It wasn't nothing of significance. In Miracle at 34 Fairview, we identified 8 miracles that defied time, space, and logic, including demonstrating what the McCabe saw and did not see, determining what time Karen likely departed, and identifying when Jen McCabe's deceptive behavior began that night. In 34 Fairview Solved, we identified where Karen parked at the bars, why Karen and John chose the route they did, why, when, and where they got lost, where Brian Higgins parked his Jeep, which door John entered at 34 Fairview and at what time, how
Joe,
John's
step ahead.
phone arrived at its final resting place, when and by whom, and how John's body arrived at its final resting place. There's only one thing left to prove. What happened between 12:21:10 a.m. and 12:24:37? Let me tell you why I chose the title of this video. Coup de grace is a noun of French origin. It means a final act of execution, especially one delivered mercifully to end suffering. Karen and John's story is one of fire and ice and tremendous suffering for everyone who loved John and those who have.
Okay, so like a coup de grace is like in Last Samurai where that dude like stabs himself, but then dude like cuts his head off so that it's ends his pain to die with honor.
have suffered at the hands of incompetent and corrupt methods to obtain justice in John's name. Let's end the suffering today, right now. Hi and welcome back. If you're new, it's nice to meet you. Just a quick warning.
It's
I'm
nice
so
to
new
meet you too.
technology and YouTube that I don't edit. I try my best to get it recorded in one shot, and if things go off the rails, I start over. But time is of the essence, so
That's the craziest fucking shit I've ever fucking heard in my life, dude. She doesn't edit. Okay? Grace does not edit. She records it all in one shot. And if she fucks up, she starts the whole goddamn process all over again. What? which is probably how I would have to do it, which is why I fucking don't. Just why I just do live streams. Like, that's why I just do live streams. Like, yeah, I'm perfectly cool with just winging it the whole goddamn time. But, like, dude, that's tedious as shit.
We're just going to embrace imperfection today. Apologies in advance if you hear the dog or the doorbell or the toddler. And if you're wondering how a nonverbal 3-year-old can be so loud, well, that's something I ask myself daily. I am not a professional YouTubist, and this is far from a professional studio. We're all
YouTubist.
just doing the best we can, right? So let's get into it. Maybe Trooper
That's
Paul's
it.
pirouette theory wasn't so far-fetched.
That's it. I am no longer to be referred to as a YouTuber. I am now officially a YouTubist. Okay?
After all, the info from John O'Keefe's Apple Health data made it seem like John spent 3 minutes doing grand jetés and frolicking through the glistening snowflakes across the property at 34 Fairview before doing literally nothing for around 7 minutes except answering a butt dial from Jen McCabe. If you believe the narrative the Commonwealth is trying to spin.
Everybody's just
And
butt
spin,
dialing like crazy that
and
night.
spin. And as goofy as it sounds, I'd like to picture John pirouetting like a ballerina from those music.
Dude, listen. If you're aware of the butt dials, how many there were between the people that it happened with. One, somebody who didn't Google 2:27 a.m. how long to die in cold, right? Another one who threw away his phone, and then another one who threw away his phone. Right? All of these people butt dialed. Crazy butt dialing night. If you are aware of this detail in this case and doubt Karen Reed's innocence, you're fucking retarded. There's no, yeah, you're a fucking retard. There's just no getting around that fact. I cannot stress that enough. I won't sugarcoat it. I just won't. Like, you need to just look in the mirror and just.
I'm retarded?
Yeah. Just, that's it. Just face the fact that you're fucking retarded.
Musical jewelry boxes that so many of us had as kids, or like a ballerina in a snow globe. Inside those snow globes, everything is perfect and safe and magical and untouchable. How many Deus Ex Machina moments did everyone have? You know they did. Denial is the first stage. You know they were thinking, John will walk through that door and explain how there was a crazy mix-up, a misunderstanding. Someday we'll look back at this and laugh at how we all overreacted. It was all just a bad dream. It was only a movie. Except it wasn't.
She just threw all this stock footage in there. Dude, that's crazy.
Because things that are built of love and hate, glass and ice, they're all so fragile. The things you thought were safe and protected in the bubble you've created, they don't bend, they break. And they don't just crack, they explode. They shatter into a million little fragments.
Right.
The precious thing, once encapsulated, is scattered, and the glass and the ice and the glitter all look the same. Everyone forgets that ice cuts like glass and that glitter will haunt you for a lifetime. We've been led to believe that what happened to John is a mystery, but it's not. We have the info right in front of us. We can tell exactly what happened if we look at the raw ingredients of the Apple Health data. You see, smartphones aren't actually that smart. They're good little data collectors, but they can't think. They can't reason. They take in the data points, and when it triggers a certain combination of behaviors, The phone makes a guess. Aha, a step. Oh, look, a floor. So we can't blame the phone for misinterpreting the ingredients, but we can blame the humans for not questioning illogical and unreasonable data.
There you go.
We are being told to believe that for 3 minutes and 12 seconds and 80 steps, John's stride length was over 43 inches, and that somehow, during 2 of those 3 minutes, John managed to ascend 3 floors of stairs, which could be mathematically possible if John was 8 feet 8 inches tall, but he wasn't.
What?
At 6 feet 2 inches, John's average stride length was 30 inches, 0.71, 30.71 inches. And the difference that it makes is significant.
Yeah.
83.13 feet is not something that you can ignore. But there's a bigger problem. Any human who has ever ascended even one flight of stairs knows this basic truth. Steps on an indoor staircase are not 43 inches apart. Even the Commonwealth can agree that steps on a staircase are not 43 inches apart. Even a first grader can agree that stairs are much closer together than that. Ask a
Wow.
kid what it sounds like when someone is going up or down stairs, and they'll tell you thump, 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 thump. Not thump, thump, thump. According to Home Depot, residential stair steps are 12 inches apart, and according to Apple Health, the average staircase contains 16 steps. We need to separate the acceleration from the elevation for now. We need to set aside the idea that John ascended and descended 3 floors. Put the altitude away and focus on the footsteps. Stair steps aren't 43 inches apart. They're about 12 inches apart with trim per Home Depot.
Right.
And even though the Apple Health data claimed 3 floors were ascended, let's start with an even more conservative hypothesis. If John was in the basement, his phone would log around 13 footsteps down to the basement and, did I say 13? I meant to say 16. And 16 footsteps up. So that gives us 32
Y'all are haters, man. I like her voice.
footsteps and 32 feet. Next, we need to replace 32 of those ginormous 43-inch footsteps with normal, average 12-inch footsteps instead. Oh, and side note, even Andre the Giant, who is 7 feet 4 inches tall, had an average stride length of 36.5 inches. I mean, for heaven's sake, why was nobody questioning this data? So when we do that replacement, we get John's usual average stride length. But maybe you're wondering, why would John's iPhone miscalculate the distance of his footsteps? The answer? GPS. Apple uses a combination of mechanical input, the thumps, and the acceleration, and it cross-references the distance using GPS. But when GPS isn't available or it isn't working properly, everything gets all messed up and it defaults back to the average stride length based on what it has learned about the user. So let's take a look at some of the limitations of GPS. You can pause the video to read, or you can do the same Google searches that I did, although the phrasing of the summary seems to vary slightly if you're using a phone versus using a computer. But you can do these searches: limitations of GPS, GPS signal in basement, and GPS signal in bad weather. You don't need a PhD, you just need an internet connection. The information is readily accessible to us, to the defense, and to the Commonwealth. For efficiency's sake, I pulled together the most essential details from those searches, and I'll read you that info. These are direct screenshots from Google. You can choose to trust me, or you can choose to go search for yourself. It won't change the information. Unless your name is Hank Brennan, I suppose, in which case the information would be extremely, dramatically different. Armageddon. Signal blockage. Large structures, trees, tunnels, mountains, clothing, and the human body can block GPS signals. When this happens, the GPS receiver may receive less accurate information or no information at all.
Huh.
Basement. A GPS signal in a basement is typically very weak or completely non existent due to the thick concrete walls and ceiling blocking the satellite signals, making it nearly impossible to get an accurate location reading in most basements. Essentially, GPS is not designed to function effectively indoors or underground. Weather. In extreme cases like blizzards or dense fog, the GPS signal can be completely blocked, leading to significant location errors or loss of signal altogether.
Yo, this lady is fucking surgical. It's like she is covering everything. This is wild.
Also, heavy precipitation can weaken the GPS signal by absorbing some of its energy as it travels through the atmosphere. Let me show you something else while we're here, and we can knock out another conspiracy from the Commonwealth. This proves why GPS was absolutely impaired that night. It's something called multipath error. Remember when the experts were all so vague about the GPS points, and then they started to say really bananagram stuff like that Karen and John were on Pinecone Road and that Karen's car was still at 34 Fairview at 12:59:25? Well, this is why. You can pause the video if you want to read the fine print and jog your memory of all those wacky GPS claims. But that data was due to something called multipath error. When signals from GPS satellites or cell phone towers bounce off buildings, the GPS receiver can be confused by the extra time it takes for the signal to reach it. This can cause sudden errors in position. Multipath errors are exacerbated by weather. Oh, and get this. Rain or snow can reflect GPS signals off of various surfaces, creating multiple signal paths that interfere with the accurate collection and calculation of location.
Wow.
You know what this means, right? John was
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat. Super cat. Super cat. Super cat. Cat, 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 cat. I think we got a super cat.
How dare you?
Jackie N, thank you so much. There you go. And justice for Crystal McCory Jones. Sent an email about Crystal McCory Jones case. Okay. I'm not familiar with that case, but I will look into it. I absolutely will look into it. Thank you so much.
At 34 Fairview before the GPS data caught up. John was in that house and John was in that basement. But what was happening down there? Were they shooting pool? Oh, wait, looking at photos? What photos? Oh, those photos? Yeah, that's convenient. But it's better than the alternative, I suppose. We don't want to say we were practicing fighting stances or warming up our muscles for something more nefarious. The Apple Health data tells us what was really happening down there through the floors metric. See, a normal flight of stairs takes 2 to 5 seconds to ascend. Look at Jen McCabe's data. And even the later floors logged on John's
shit.
phone when the phone was with a first responder, those stay true to the pattern also.
Grab
But when you
ass.
look at John's 1222 entry, it's different for a few reasons. First, the floors are cumulative. They've all been lumped together into one timestamp. Second, the duration between those two timestamps isn't a couple seconds, it's a couple minutes. 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Visualize a place where you might climb 3 flights of stairs in a row: a cruise ship, a hospital, a museum, maybe even a historical tourist landmark like a tower. Unless you have a hindrance like a stubborn, independent toddler, it's not going to take you a sustained 2 minutes and 23 seconds to ascend a flight of stairs. Or 3 flights of stairs. This video clip I'm playing right now of ascending multiple
It would if people are trying to carry them.
staircases is 17 seconds long. To put that into perspective, we all know that a butt-to-butt dial and conversation can take place in 22 seconds, or 10 seconds if you're on the witness stand. So 2 minutes and 23 seconds is a really long time. Now remember, the terminology used in the trial by both sides was misleading. No descending floors were logged for anybody that night. So going downstairs doesn't count, but going upstairs does. And based on the steps and the GPS interference, we know that John and the phone went down to the basement. And because the phone ended up on the lawn, we know that the phone came upstairs out of the basement. We even know when it happened because there are no other records of floors ascended until later when the paramedics are loading John into the ambulance and leaving the scene. Before you say Faraday bags, please be assured that Faraday bags only stop invisible signals from being sent and received. They don't stop the mechanical functions of the phone, the thump counter, the accelerometer, and the altimeter. Trust me, I tried. With the phone in a Faraday bag and that Faraday bag in a second Faraday bag nestled into a third Faraday bag and a fourth Faraday bag. So the phone was essentially layered Russian nesting doll style into 4 Faraday bags, and it still counted steps and floors. So the floor that we mentioned earlier in our step math, our footstep math, that's going to be our exit floor. Now we just need to account for 2 more floors. But the phone doesn't know what a staircase is. It only knows that acceleration plus 16 thumps or strikes plus 3 meters of altitude tell the phone to record a floor. So we need to find 32 thumps and 6 meters of altitude change, and it has to be steady and ongoing. If you remember from previous videos, I had 2 theories, the keep away theory and the knockdown theory. I tested both theories in an attempt to replicate John's data, and one of the methods was successful. You see, I found an old iPhone that we don't use anymore, and it became a tool for my experiments. To test the keep away theory, I threw it 10 feet in the air 10 times and let it fall to the ground. No steps, no flights. Then I threw it 10 feet up, 10 feet wide, 10 times over. No steps, no
Jesus,
flights.
dude.
This was a disappointment because the next series of experiments was going to be painful. But first, I needed to gather a little more information. What is the inseam for someone who is 6 feet 2 inches? How deep are the pockets of men's jeans? I
Dude.
used my husband's jeans and discovered that the inseam was about 32 inches. I also discovered that the bottom of the pockets aligns with the top of the inseam. If John had on shoes, which is debatable, but we can be certain that he paused to ask, they would probably add an
Thank
inch.
you, Diane G.
So John's phone was approximately 33 inches off the ground. There are 39 inches in a meter. Remember, we are trying to simulate an increase in altitude. So
Right.
it's just like the old cliche. It's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get up.
Right.
It was time. I forcefully flung myself to the ground from standing position to face on the floor.
Lady.
And I got back up and hopped twice like a boxer. I repeated these.
Okay, Grace, we're going to need you to calm down. Okay? No need for all that. No need to like break your own neck trying to prove Karen Reed's innocence. You're doing plenty as it is. I think we can do without the masochism. Okay? Jed Dalgos, thank you so much. Appreciate you. We're good. You proved your point, Grace. We love you.
Steps.
We need you to keep that noggin intact.
More times. Then I remembered that I'm much shorter than John, so I flung myself on the ground a 4th time, just in case. I got up and checked the phone. Nothing. Deeply disappointed, I began to type up the results. Less than an hour later, at the start of another
And with a
experiment,
splitting
more
headache.
on that in the next video, I checked the phone and saw that it had logged a floor and steps. There was just a delay in recording it. And look, it logged
Interesting.
it in the same weird way that John's stamp was logged, across several minutes instead of seconds like a
You want
normal
machine?
flight. And look at that delay in the recording time. So, it is reasonable to conclude that between 12:21 and 12:23-ish, while the phone was in John's pocket, John sustained at least 6 knockdown get-ups, more likely haul-ups from the opponent or spectators, as he was fighting for his life. And then, while still within the lag of the logging window, John was separated from his phone. Before you can say, how can it happen so fast, consider this. Plenty of boxers are knocked unconscious within a 3-minute round. Sometimes they get knocked out even faster. Look at this list of the top 5 fastest knockouts in history as of November 2024, ranging from 20 seconds all the way down to 10 seconds. And really think about this. The opponents of the boxers on that list were expecting a fight. They knew that they were about to have a physical altercation. They were in a padded ring. They were dressed for it with gloves and tape and Vaseline on their cheeks. Their muscles were warmed up and ready. They were facing their opponent evenly matched by weight. There's a bell to start, a referee and coaches, and a medical team nearby. They're trained, they're
Yeah,
prepared, they're
like
ready.
think about how quick it takes to knock somebody the fuck out. And that's just boxing. She didn't look up UFC. She didn't look up, I mean, she didn't look up fucking bum fights. You know what I mean? Like, think about how quick it takes to just knock somebody the fuck out. You know? Dude, like at some point in your life, you see somebody get knocked the fuck out like once. You know what I mean? Like one hit. Like, I know I've seen it. I've seen my brother do it. Just knock somebody right the fuck out. One hit. Boom. Done. Out. Like, so she's making an excellent point here. And she's being objective.
They know what to expect, and they're literally facing their opponent face to face. And sometimes they still get knocked unconscious within seconds, almost single-digit seconds. John had none of those fair fight elements. It's likely that John didn't even realize Brian Higgins was there if he didn't see the Jeep, and if he hadn't checked his phone. John was ambushed in that basement. John was mortally incapacitated within moments, within minutes. Even the dog got her licks in. John's phone bore silent witness to that brutal
Facts.
beating. While John was bleeding out, dying in that basement, someone else whisked that phone away and dashed up the stairs and placed that phone on a flat surface, probably the dining room table, where it remained for 5 minutes and 7 seconds, until it answered a butt dial from Jen McCabe for 8 seconds, whose phone was mysteriously also not moving during that time, likely side by side with John's.
What?
Did they really think they could override the phone's lock? Then the phone remained in place and didn't.
Oh, I see what she's saying. So what she's saying is they figured they could just, I mean, but chances are he had facial recognition. You just hold the fucking phone up to his face if you want to unlock the phone. But she's saying that if they call his phone, if they were to call his phone, once they answer it, it unlocks his phone. That was what they were thinking, according to her. Her theory is that they figured if Jen McCabe calls his phone, then if they answer his phone, it unlocks his phone. But I mean, why not just hold it up to his face? If that's the case.
Nothing for 2 minutes and 4 seconds until it made a 20-second beeline out the front door to the far side of the yard.
Oh, if the eyes are open. Okay.
No, toward Deputy Chief Neighbor's house. Can't risk a ping tracing back to the house. Better get the phone outside while the weather is still messing up the GPS signals. Get that digital evidence out of here. We'll deal with his body later. We've got time. John enters the house. From the foyer, John asks the homeowner's preference about shoes. John is greeted and directed to where the guys are hanging out in the basement. John walks from the foyer to the top of the basement stairs and descends those 16 thumps. By 12:22:14, he has already sustained one knockdown get-up because the phone is recording altitude, and it keeps on recording altitude. Changes steadily, repeatedly, all the way until 12:24. By late 12:23, John was separated from his phone, and that phone dashed upstairs where it sat without movement until 12:29 when it answered Jen's call, still without registering movement. John's phone sat for 2 more minutes untouched and not moving before it made a 20-second beeline to its final resting place, where it remained again untouched in its own real-life snow globe until 6:04 a.m.
Shit.
John deserves justice. Karen deserves freedom. The dominoes are falling. Prepare for the explosion. If you have found value in this video, please let me know by giving it a like, a comment, and a share. Share it far and wide. Skeptics need to see why the data was flawed and how it changes everything.
Yeah,
Please
man.
check to make sure that you're subscribed, because although this may have revealed the metaphorical final blow, we are not done. There is more to unravel. Until the
A lot
next
more.
one, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of our community. I love you.
That music. All right, y'all. Phone lines are open. Anybody wants to call in, they can call in. And yeah, man. We'll hang out for just a little bit. But yeah, how about that, man? Grace is, whoo, she's something else. That was pretty mind-blowing. It just boils down to like having that much inclination to get to understanding that phone data. Like that's what it boils down to. I would never even dream of having the patience to go through what she went through to do that. Thank you so much, DB. Thanks, Will, member for 5 months. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Lacey Jane. I appreciate it.
Call from.
Hello.
Well, hello. Well, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
How are things going?
They're going well. How are you?
Good. I can't believe that I am the first one calling in. Grace is amazing, man.
Yeah, she really is.
That I'm waiting for the next one. I think that one she put out a few days ago, or maybe a week ago. I'm not sure, but I'm like waiting for these videos by the second. I'm in love with her brain.
Yeah,
Like,
she's great. She's great.
She's amazing.
We're gonna keep.
She's
yeah,
amazing.
I'm gonna keep going over her videos, man. I really want to push them out. She's
Yeah.
yeah, she's really getting to the bottom of things. It's great.
So, did they say when is the next time that there's a docket in line for Karen? Do you know? Have we
Not off
missed anything?
no, no. Not off the top of my head, but yeah, there's stuff coming up. There's something coming up next week, I think. Uh
Well, it's
there's a
hard to
hearing.
catch up. Like, you know how Twitter is, or
Thank you,
and
DB.
everything else is. It's hard to catch up with everything when you've been gone for a couple of days, and it seems like it's a never-ending story. You cannot go back and get caught up with everything that's going on. So I'm sure somebody will post something. I don't want to miss anything. I doubt
Right.
that anything is going to happen before the beginning of the year, right? So
No, yeah. I think there's something coming up the first week of January, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. But yeah.
okay, cool. Did you get my Christmas message? My happy Merry Christmas to you and Clover. Did you get it?
I don't. I'm not sure. Maybe. I mean, yeah. I
I
got a
mean,
lot of really nice. I got a lot of really nice messages from a lot of people. It was very nice.
that's
It's very nice.
that's really not what I asked. So I mean, I don't understand why you're like saying that to me. Like, hello.
Thank you, Buddy Koi. I appreciate it.
Okay. No. What are you doing this New Year's Eve? Anything? Hanging out?
Yeah, I'm doing a 12-hour stream.
Are you kidding?
No.
On from New Year's Eve to New Year's Day?
Yes.
Ok, pues tú sabes que algunos de nosotros somos dominicanos, es decir, estamos en fiesta desde que van las 12, no, yo no puedo estar aquí en televisión porque tengo que esperar el año. So
Voy a estar gozando aquí con la gente. ¿Y qué?
pero cómo yo voy a tener la televisión prendida en el medio de un año nuevo, esperando el año? Eso no se hace. El sancocho, los plátanos.
No tiene que hacerlo. Vaya a gozar con la, con la familia.
Or I can watch it on replay because it's going to be a little impossible to pay attention with,
Well, I mean, yeah, you don't have to watch it. It's like
I'm not saying I'm not watching it, man. I'm saying it that it's going to be hard to watch it on that specific day, but I will watch it on replay. I normally catch up with everything that's going on just to make sure that you're online and everything is well and you're doing your thing and keeping your boundaries, and somebody's got to have an eye on you, right? Where's your mommy?
Well, who knows? All right, I'm gonna take the next caller. Thank you so much for calling. Appreciate it. Always
Bye.
Fun.
Call from
Jennifer.
You're on. Who am I speaking with?
Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Will the Glare. How you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Did you have a good Christmas?
I did. Did you?
Yeah, it was pretty mellow.
Right on.
Yeah, it was pretty mellow. I tried to call you the other night when you were backing up Miss Shorty.
Okay.
That was pretty cool.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you something, though. I heard she's tall.
Miss Shorty?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's one of those ironic.
Yeah, I heard she's
names.
Tall. So you gotta watch that.
Yeah, maybe it's just the slang, like shorty for a girl, you know what I mean? Hey, shotty. Give me a shotty.
There you go.
It's probably one of
There you
those
go.
things. Yeah.
All right, I'm gay, but I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are you wearing tidy whities?
No. No. I'm not 90.
You're a free bird. You're a free bird, aren't you?
No. But I'm not 90. I didn't even know that they still sell tidy whities. Like that's a thing
do.
still. Yeah, no.
All right. I'm just messing with you. I'm glad I got through.
Right on. Thank you, Jennifer, for calling.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Peace.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Interesting calls tonight. You're on. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, it's Viviana
Hi, Viviana.
from Canada. I called you a
Hi.
while back, and
Right
yeah,
on.
yeah. So, that whole thing about the phone, they couldn't open it because his face probably did not look like him anymore. When you
I
think about
mean,
it,
yeah, that's
I
possible,
have
but
allergies, and so my eyes swell up, and as soon as I have like my eyes swollen, I couldn't open my phone, so I removed it off my phone.
yeah, but
The facial recognition.
my phone opens when I have sunglasses and a hoodie on. So, I mean,
But there's certain parts that it probably recognizes, right? But what
I
if it
get
just
I don't really
didn't
know how
recognize
it
them any
I don't
further?
really know how it
Like, I
works.
mean,
Now, I'm not saying that there's it's that you're wrong.
yeah,
It could be the case. It could also, be the case like you said, but eyes being open again, like I my phone opens when I have sunglasses on. So,
yeah, yeah. So I wonder if it probably has. I don't know. I don't know whether. I mean, I use my fingerprint for mine, right?
okay.
So, But also, did you have? I don't know if you've watched the video yet of her showing how that phone got out there.
No. I mean, we watched what we
Okay.
just watched.
Well, you have to watch it. I'll leave it at that. Happy New Year.
Oh, we'll
Take
go
care.
over it at some point for sure. All right. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
it'll be
calling.
awesome. Okay, ciao.
Bye-bye. Okay. Apparently it's not. Like I said, my phone, I open it all the time with sunglasses on. So
Call from.
you're on. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, what's going on, Blair? It's DJ from Calling All Beings. How are you?
What's up, dude? It's good to hear from you, man. How you doing?
Good. How was your holiday?
It was good. How was yours, buddy?
It was great. Pretty just normal stuff, little trail running and hiking with the dogs and, nothing like terribly exciting. But, this is probably the most exciting thing I do is like get on YouTube. That's about it. Dude, what did you think of Grace, man?
She's great. Yeah. She's I like the idea of pushing new creators, especially people that are that insightful. And yeah, like she's fantastic. I'm really intrigued about what I'm going to see from her in the future. She's fantastic.
Totally. We just had her on Sunday for like an hour and maybe 2 hours, actually. I think it ended up going. But you should definitely have her on. Her connection with the audience was phenomenal because all the messages you're getting after the fact, like YouTube comments about her, you could just tell that people really connected with her. I think you guys would really do just a dynamite broadcast together.
Oh, I would be thrilled to have her on at some point. Absolutely. I just haven't gotten that far to reach out to her yet, but I would be thrilled to.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know that people want to call in, but man, the more I listen to you, man, you're a brilliant content creator, man.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. I dig your channel too, dude. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Same here. Keep doing that damn thing. And man, I wish you were able to come back for the meal of food. I know you were just there, man, but we're having that January 12th dinner, but
Okay.
I'm hoping that like on one of them, we can.
I wish I could.
Yeah.
I got some other stuff coming up, and it might just I might have to reserve my resources for it.
Absolutely.
But later on, a couple of months later, is something that I'm trying to put together. It's just conceptual right now, but hopefully it can get done. But it's looking more and more like it can, and I'll be reaching out to you about it too. So.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely fly back, man. I'm always looking for an excuse to go back there. So thank you very much, and take care from you and your fam.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
That cat and dog too, man. All right.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, have a good one.
Yep.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat. Super cat. Super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat.
How dare you.
Becky Wazalewski. I totally killed it right there. You may need a second bottle of scotch. Cheers. Oh man, maybe, but oh geez, probably not. But thank you. I will put that towards my first bottle and probably only bottle. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Call from.
You're on. Who am I speaking with?
It's Patty from Massachusetts. How are you?
Hi, Patty from Massachusetts. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I just have a quick request for your New Year's Eve show. If you could dedicate some time to your fur babies, I would gladly fork over more money than I'm comfortable with forking over to see the two of them.
I will gladly exploit my pets. I'll be more than happy to do so. Yes, I'm sure at some point I will do that. I'm going to find a lot of ways to try to fill up time for that 12-hour stream and stay awake through it all. And then in being extremely tired, I'm going to end up drinking and trying to get through those last couple of hours, which is going to be fantastic because I don't like champagne. I hate champagne. I drank champagne last year and it is gross. So I'm not even going to do that to myself this year. I'm just going to get some really nice scotch and sip it.
Excellent. I'm glad you got a game plan for that. But yes, fur babies, seeing your fur babies would make me more than willing to just fork over my entire paycheck.
I'm going to hold you to that. You heard that, folks. The whole paycheck, man. I hope you're a lawyer.
No, I work for the Commonwealth.
Yeah. Well, fuck. Are you a cop? Shit. Fork it over.
I do work in forensics, but I'm not a cop.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate. Yeah, I'll save your money, man. I'm more than happy to have the babies on there, and I'm sure, I'll show off Drago at some point during that stream.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. That was my request.
Right on. Thank you so much. I appreciate you calling.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. I'll take one more. Awkward silence. Oh my God. You can hear that. Nobody's gonna call. I'm gonna shut it down. All right. That's it. Done. I am gonna call it, folks. Guys, you are absolutely fantastic. Big shout out to Brother Counsel. Be going over more of his stuff, man. Make sure to subscribe to Brother Counsel if you're not subscribed already. Make sure to subscribe to Dream Feed Media. Both brilliant. And we're gonna go over more stuff in the future. I really want to see these creators who have so much insight to add to the community. I want to see them grow. So I'm going to do everything I can to push these guys out and make sure to do what Dream Feed Media said, man. Share it out. And if you guys got X or Facebook or whatever, share that stuff out. Cheryl Rose, thank you so much. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being you. I appreciate it. Guys, you are absolutely fantastic. Seriously. I had a fun tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, spending your Friday evening with me. I had an excellent time as always. I always love hanging out with you guys. Thank you guys. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. If you're new subscribers, I really hope you enjoy the channel moving forward. And make sure to hit the like, really helps me out. And thank you guys so much for all of the support. Actually, let me do this real quick. Some people sent Venmos. And Lacey Jane is going to DM you on X about being a guest on my first post Cop Daddy show on the 9th. Yeah, I'm down for that. That sounds great. And Dina, will you ever see a concert at the Cave in Tennessee? No, I have not. Thank you, Dina. We love Dina. Awesome. Man, that's really sweet. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I love you guys very much. You guys are absolutely fantastic. And we will do this again very soon, my friends.